Hello again, and thanks for clicking on to Jiffy and Stubbsy. This is the start of Series 2. Just a quick background. Earlier this year, dual code rugby star Jonathan Davis came up with the idea of talking about the sporting issues of the day, invited me to join in. And for those 10 podcasts, the first 10 podcasts, which are still available to click onto, we were joined by the likes of Sir Ian Botham, the Wolves skipper Connor Cody, Lions coach Graham Roundtree, Tour de France winner Geraint Thomas, and they are still available to listen to. But just before we bat on with the start of Series 2, grateful thanks to Kerry London, who are supporting us this time round. They're offering to sponsor this second series. Kerry, one of the leading insurance companies around, and in what are still testing and difficult financial times in regard to financial affairs, they can offer expert advice in all aspects of insurance. So here we go. Jiffy's in South Wales. I'm in Southwest London. Jiffy, sport is taking baby steps forward.
Yes, very, very baby steps. I think still no crowds, but which is a bit different. But like you said, it's baby steps, and I think football seems to be leading the way. But it's still difficult times, and the announcement yesterday in England, only 6 people. Does it put more pressure on, sports again, just to take a little bit of a backseat thing, because they're all trying to push crowds at the moment, but it doesn't seem to be going well at the moment. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you, Jiffy. I think everyone has suddenly got a little bit more uncertain about all sorts of things. Today's guest, a Swansea-born Test cricketer, played county cricket for Glamorgan, Worcestershire, Hampshire, then back to Glamorgan. He was the Wisden Cricketer of the Year. He had absolutely no luck with injuries. Thanks to Simon Jones MBE for joining us. First of all, Simon, no doubt that you've got the family genes. I was reading up about your dad, and your dad had a terrific career, and he batted and bowled for England as well, and Glamorgan. So can you remember early days of him showing you how it's done?
Yeah, look, I think I started like any child really in the back garden playing cricket with my brothers. I kind of knew who my dad was because everywhere we went, everyone would say hello to him, and I'd be wondering, who is this bloke? You know what I mean? He's my dad. But look, he was amazingly supportive as a youngster coming through. I loved football up until I was about 13 or 14, and then I found out I was better at cricket. And it's one of those things that, as a dad, he knew when to step back and leave me just play. That support network was there. He understood the pressures that you have when you play professional sport. So when I had a bad day, he'd leave me have a bit of space. He was there if I needed advice, but yeah, he was immense for my career anyway.
He was the top wicket taker in an Ashes series in the 60s, wasn't he?
Yeah, he went up to Australia, I think it was in 66. But the amazing thing was they played 8-ball overs then. So if you pulled a couple of wides and a couple of no balls, you were a bit bothered, weren't you? But yeah, he did well up there. Look, it has suited him. Left arm, fast bouncy wickets. He loved it up there.
And one other thing I read about your dad, which alongside taking all those wickets, didn't he bat out and over against the West Indies? Lance Gibbs to get the draw for England. And I'm just imagining that the tension of 1 over to go and Dad's last man, and he's got to stop Lance Gibbs taking the wicket that would have given the West Indies there. Does he talk about that much?
He has, yeah. He said that's the most relieved he's ever been in his life because Wes Hall didn't come on the bowl.
Can I imagine?
Wes Hall was the leading cricket, and Charlie Griffith. But I've seen some video footage of it, and my old man had a massive mop of curls, right? And he's got this cap on. He must have borrowed it off a child because it was just balanced on top of his head. I don't know why he even bothered wearing it. But I've seen the footage where he batted it out, and he confessed to not being a great batsman, but he achieved something massive that day to survive that over.
And in those days, like you look at it, as you said, he had the hat on. That's about it, isn't it? Nothing else, no pads or nothing. You're a bowler facing maybe the fastest, attack in the world. Yeah. I always think about it, right? Because I think everyone plays cricket as a kid. I played cricket in school, but there is that cricket ball is so hard, right? And I do think it puts a lot of people off because I still remember when I was hit with it a couple of times on the inside, like, a couple of good bowlers and in-swingers, they caught me inside of the thigh, right? And it is, people tell me, when you played against Malmaning and Inga I'd rather play against them two, right, and face a fast bowler. It's odd, isn't it? But it's all relative, I suppose.
Robert Croft, right, had a benefit do down in Gowerton, and a load of the rugby boys turned up. I think it was cricket mixed with rugby, and we had a game. And I think it was either Richard or Paul Moriarty was there. Some of the two of the biggest, toughest guys in rugby. And one of them was fielding at cover, and the balls got hit to him. He ran alongside it until it stopped. He didn't want to put himself in the way of the ball. And I was like, what are you doing? And I said, you tackled lads who were like 25 stone or whatever it is. And he's running away from a little red ball. I couldn't go over it.
But it is odd,
Simon, I was looking back over selection, and when you first got in the England team, how did it work about how you were told you were in or you were out? Because talking to some of your contemporaries, it all seemed to me to be very random, that, you weren't given an awful lot of information. Did anyone ever phone you up and say, you're in, great, or when you weren't in, did they phone up and say, this is the reason that you're not in the team?
David Graveney was chairman of selectors, and you'd get a phone call off him if you were in the squad. So it was one of those things, you're patiently waiting for that phone call to happen. And at times, obviously, it's almost as if you had a deadline when you'd find out, because you'd obviously need a bit of time to get up to wherever you were playing. So if you didn't get the call, you knew you weren't playing. I know, like in the old days, some people found out in the newspapers, didn't they?
Yeah.
That they weren't in the squad. But look, when I started with England, it started to be far more professional. And I think, from the old days to where it was when I started, there was a massive change in how everything was dealt with. The team around, so we'd have a team manager, physio, and a fitness guy, S&C. Whereas in the old days, it was just have a couple of pints in the night and get on with
like
it.
going back to the early days, right? Because you're Swansea boy, Morriston boy. So where did you kind of realise, hang on, I'm quite good at this, and I'm quite a fast bowler. So where did the penny drop? At what age was it somewhere?
I reckon I was about 11 or 12, Jeff. I played in, I think it was a third or second team game for Davin. And I broke a guy's eye socket when I was 12. And it was just one of those things, like people say, can you coach people to bowl fast? You can get them slightly quicker, but I think you're just born with that genetic to bowl fast. It's like, can you make someone run as fast as Usain Bolt? No.
Yeah, no.
And I'd inherited my dad's genes of bowling quickly. I was about 12 or 13, I think, when I found out I could really let it go.
Because cricket's massive in South Wales. It's you bump into a lot of people who have played at that, and you get a lot of you had Richie Richardson playing for Swansea. Players of that calibre.
That's crazy, isn't it?
It is crazy, West Indian opening batsman playing for Swansea on St Helens, right? It's unheard of, and all these local bowlers are trying to bowl him when he knocks about 160 and 40 overs, But it must have been a great experience for you growing up in that environment, right? Playing against all kinds of different people, and also sledging. At your young age, you would have had loads of sledging from all the characters in the South Wales League.
Yeah, Davin had some good lads. Like Puggy and that, but it was just one of those things when you're a youngster going in. My dad always liked to play alongside me, just to make sure that there's no banter going on that's going a bit too far and stuff. So I started off in the third team, and then I made my way up. But I think when you're a fast bowler, you're quite lucky. You don't get much stick because they know it's going to come back. With pain rather than banter. You leave that to the older boys, and then they look after you a little bit more.
Okay.
Simon, I know you're involved in coaching now. When you see a young bowler, can you tell pretty much straight away what the potential is there? You said before about genetically, about you can bowl fast. Do you immediately know, and then it's just sort of polishing this diamond?
Yeah, it's just a natural thing. You'll get guys who have ability, and they work incredibly hard to get to where they want to go. Then you get someone, for instance, with England, right? I'm not saying he hasn't worked hard, but he's got such a natural ability to bowl fast. It's Jofra Archer.
Mm.
They look so effortless at the crease. Now, you can't buy that. You can't make that. That's just him. Mark Wood in the England team bowls as quickly as him, but he has to put a lot more effort into it. Whereas Jofra, you can just see him, he just runs up, ambles up, and he's just got that natural gift. So yeah, when you do work with kids, you can see the ones who come through. It's the thing I've found, right, when I used to coach before my job with Kerry, is the thing that disappointed me the most when I was growing up, and same as you guys, you were always outside doing something with the ball. You were outside playing. The thing I noticed with a lot of my coaching was kids didn't have that natural coordination because they're either inside the house on the computer, not outside doing the things that we did, climbing trees, just messing around, you know what I mean, skipping stones and that. I make myself sound old here, but it was just one of the things I noticed throughout when I did my academies and stuff was, it was a little bit frustrating at times just to see the kids weren't able to do the things they should be doing at that age.
Yeah, do you get, when you are a fast bowler and everyone talks about line and length and everything, and is it kind of a temptation to bowl as fast as you can all the time, or just keeping it a line and length, bringing it down to about 80-90%? It must be very difficult because you want to throw them down as quickly as you can now.
I think if you have someone who's got the ability to bowl quick at a young age, you get the old school coaches saying, right, slow it down now, get your line and length, and then you can adapt. No, just let them bowl fast. They've got to get used to bowling fast, and then their aim and their direction and their accuracy will come later on. Yes, at times you have to use your head when you're playing professionally. You might be playing on a really slow wicket. What's the point in going absolutely balls to the wall? There's no point.
Yeah.
You've got to use your head in those situations. You look at Jimmy Anderson; he's cut his pace down over the last 3 or 4 years. Yeah. His skill set is amazing. So he can still survive at Test cricket because he's done that. He's worked on his skills. If he was the same bowler as when he started to where he is now and he cut his pace down, he'd probably get whacked. He's used the 15, 20 years he's played cricket to develop these skills so he can cope at that level.
Yeah.
Simon, how difficult is it if you're getting hit for some runs on your walk back?
Yeah.
How difficult is it not to try and bowl even faster then because you're revved up? So do you have to tell yourself, keep calm? Because if you're going for a few boundaries and you're sort of shunnering away, I can't imagine it helps.
No, it doesn't. No, and I think that's something that comes with age. The more you play, I think your temperament can change. A couple of lads I played with, when they said if they compared me from when I was 17, 18 to when I finished, yes, I was still very fiery at the end, but I was a total different monster at the start. The red mist would descend and the ball would be flying here, there and everywhere. And it was just one of those things that you have to learn to try and deal with. It can happen on a rugby pitch, it can happen on a football pitch. Red mist comes down, you don't know what you're doing, do you?
Is that when you need the captain to say, hang on a little minute, or?
Yeah, look, I played in a one-day international at Lords against Australia in 2005, right? And Adam Gilchrist hit me for 4 fours in a row. And,
that's demoralising, isn't it?
You're thinking to yourself, what am I going to do here? Michael Vaughan came running straight over. Said, look, you could get a wicket next ball, relax. I want you to attack Adam Gilchrist. And I was thinking in the back of my head, he's going to pump me again here now. But that's the way Michael Vaughan was. He just wanted you to just show what you could do on the field, express yourself. He said, you're here because you're good enough. Just go and do it.
Wow.
Who's your best captain you played under, Sam?
Look, with England, I played under Nasser and Michael Vaughan. Nasser, totally different temperament to Vaughan. Very fiery, let you know if you've done something wrong. Still a very good captain. Apart from winning the toss at the Gabba and bowling. And then I had an 18-month layoff. Vaughan, very different, wanted you to relax, wanted you to just chill in your own space. He was all about developing a squad of players that would be happy in each other's company, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Probably at Glamorgan, I'd say Matt Maynard.
Okay.
He backed me. He knew I was a little bit raw when I started. He knew I was going to go for runs. He said, I don't care. I'll set you fields that you're going to take wickets. That's your job. I don't care if you go 6 and over. If you've taken 4 or 5 wickets, I'm happy. The boys will all end up as Steve Watkin or the other bowlers, do you know what I mean? Or Crawford's got to come in and do that. So, Maynard was probably the best captain I played under county cricket.
Because it needs a balance, doesn't it? Because I think that, people don't appreciate how much cricketers spend together. And if you don't get on, that is going to become an issue, isn't it?
Oh, look, the longest tour I did was probably South Africa in 2004-05. It was 4 and a bit months. And, you think how many hotels you have to go to. But you're with each other for 4.5 months. And as you know, you've been on Lions tours, etc. It's hard work. Those little things that annoy you just build and build and build, aren't they? And you're going to get the odd Barney. You're in a changing room, and as long as it gets cleared up, it happens.
It happens, yeah.
But it didn't happen very often with that side I played in. It was a good group of lads, really good group of lads.
Simon, do you get a special buzz from taking certain wickets with a certain batsman you think, I love getting you out? I know you love to take wickets, you love to get anybody out. But are there certain wickets you think, that's great?
I think it's any of the Aussies. The history with those boys is so big. And, when we played them in 05, that side that came over was just a team of legends. Yeah. From, even 1 to 13 or 14 of that squad, they were all high class. So anytime you got a wicket against them, you valued it because you earned it. They didn't give wickets away easily. They were a group that dominated for 5-10 years. So, any of those boys. Michael Clarke was probably my bunny in that group. Every time I bowled him, I had a knack of getting him out. I think it's one of those things, as a bowler, there's one batsman I hated bowling to, right? And he's in county cricket, and that's always Shah. I just found him a nightmare to bowl to. Now, you might think that's odd. Right? You might think of Ricky Ponting or Gilchrist or something like that. No, it was always Shah. It was just, I think sometimes it gets in your head. And I think I got in Michael Clarke's head that every time I got the ball, he was thinking, God, what's going to happen here? His feet don't move as quickly. His head isn't in the right place. Do you get what I mean?
But why Shah then? What was different about him?
I just found he scored in funny areas. He was very wristy. And I think it was more in the one-day stuff. In a 4-day stuff, you can settle in on a length and just sit there. I think in the one-day stuff, you would come in probably middle-order, and you're trying to bowl Yorkers, etc. And he would just get under it. Honest to God, and just whip it over for 6. You try and paddle, all sorts. It was hard work. I played ball against some real good high-class players, but he was hard. He was tough.
Does somebody talk to you about the 05 Ashes series every day of your life? Is it every day of your life that people ask you about it?
I wouldn't say it's every day, but I quite like Twitter. And you'd always get that ball I bowled to Michael Clarke coming up.
That is very good. The swing works, the oracle again. Quite brilliant from Simon Jones.
Always. It's nice to remember it. I can't believe it's 15 years ago. Time goes so quickly. But to see it again is nice. I'm not scrolling through YouTube every night watching it.
No.
But yeah,
it's gonna be sad then, Simon, to be honest.
Yeah. might need some help. But yeah, it's nice to see that people kind of appreciate what happened in 2005. As a group of players, we worked so hard to get there. It's gone down as probably the best series there will ever be.
Can you talk about
what was that? Yeah, go on.
Hoggard, Harmison, Flintoff, Jones? Can you talk about being part of that little group?
Hoggard, very intelligent human being. You'd be surprised to hear.
Is he?
Yeah, very.
I am surprised.
Yeah, he specialised in maths and physics. But I used to call him a social hand grenade. Unbelievable. Honestly, just a pest. An absolute pest. I'd have a missed call off him, and he'd leave an answerful message about 2 minutes long, bleating like a sheep, and then finish it off with knobhead. I'd be in net, stood at the top of my mark. He'd come up and lick the side of my face. And then you had Steve Harmison, right? A very funny human being, but very shy.
Yeah.
Very shy. But just one of those blokes you'd want in the trenches with you. You knew he had your back. And it's the same with Fred. Fred was a little bit more outgoing than obviously Steve Harmison, but he was just he's got heart of gold, that bloke. The only time I've ever seen him quiet in the dressing room is when Rob Key is there. Rob Key just shuts him down every time. I've never seen anything like it, because Fred is, he's quite vocal. He wants to have a bit of banter. If he's a bit nervous, he talks a lot. But the only person I've ever seen is Rob Key. He's unbelievable. I've never seen him lose an argument, actually.
You took a 6 for 53.
Yeah.
That I think that was the third test, was it? Was that the third test? I think it was.
Yes, that was at Old Trafford. Yeah. But do you know what? It was nice, obviously, to get 6 for 53. But do you know, as the series progressed, there was a massive amount of pressurised situation on us anyway, because I think it was the first time the public had seen that we had a chance of beating them.
Yeah.
It was on terrestrial TV, so everyone could watch it. Not saying that Sky and that don't do a good job now, because they do, but it was on terrestrial TV. Every single person could watch it. But the biggest thing for me was on that 4th or 5th day, we turned away 20,000 people from the ground. When we warm up normally, you probably get the odd person who's there to collect autographs early and stuff like that. The ground was full. There was capacity. And the boys couldn't believe it. We'd never experienced anything like this in our lives. And that just summed up the series, I think, boys. It was just because we'd obviously won back at Edgbaston. It was 1-1, and then this one it was building nicely.
At the end of a day's play, for example, on the back of the 6 for 53,
yeah,
what did you do?
You're knackered.
Yeah.
I think the thing is, the only way I describe it is, do you know when you get dragged on the shops by your missus at Christmas time, and you get home, your legs are aching a bit. That's how your legs are every day. And you're obviously aching all over. As a fast bowler, you never play in without a niggle. You've always got some kind of niggle, and you're just trying to deal with it. So yeah, honestly, massive sense of like what I'd achieved to get 6 against that lot. But at the same time, then you're just thinking, I can just go home and go back to the hotel now, have a good rest, maybe go have some food before you do that, have 1 or 2 beers, and then get into bed.
I said, do you, because it's like you don't. A couple of beers, is it everything's regimented? Because I think everything's regimented then. Back in those days, could it a little bit more relaxed and you could just have your own time and everything? Because every sport now is so professional. Everyone, they know what they're doing for 10 months of the year.
Oh, well, from where I started, I turned pro in 95, 96. I think I was 15 or 16. And then when I finished in 2013, the game had changed exponentially. It was unreal. And I think when I first started, everyone was on the same playing field. They probably have 5-10 pints a night. So when they're playing the next day, they're all on the same wavelength, aren't they?
Yeah.
Whereas now, they obviously avoid drinking. They're all costs when they're playing. During that time, we could have a quiet couple. We were given that kind of leeway. But they knew, look, you're playing in the biggest series of your life. If you're going to risk going out and getting absolutely hammered,
yeah,
you're going to get found out the next day because those boys will have you.
But the good management, people are different, aren't they? So, some boys, because they're staying in a hotel, might need just 1 or 2 cup of beers, to have a kick, have a good night's sleep. And then other players, will not touch it, go to bed early. People will be kind of watch what they eat and everything. So I think people don't realise. People say, oh yeah, you're in a hotel, you're going here and everywhere. But travelling and hotels, I think, is the worst thing about professional sport. Yes, it's just mind-numbing, isn't it, most of the time? And as I said, cricket is worse, so it's very important. And that's what came over, in that series. When you look at all the characters, it looked as if you were having a good time in a pressurized situation, obviously, because the Australians are a massive scalp on the Ashes, one of the biggest sporting moments of any sport. So it's a fine balance of discipline and kind of keeping everyone happy, isn't it?
The big thing I noticed as well was because we'd been together as a side for 3 or 4 years. It was maybe slightly longer, I'm not sure. But when someone did well, there was no rivalry, there was no envy,
no jealousy.
Yeah, you were happy for them. Do you know what I mean? I think because we knew we were such a tight unit as a bowling group, especially. And I think the one who gets forgotten all the time is Ashley Giles. He did a hell of a job that summer. Yeah. He held an end up for us to bowl, rest up, and then he'd pick up the big wickets. He caught well in the slips. He batted well. But as a unit, we knew that at some point in that 5 Test match series, one of us was going to get a fiver. One of us was. We knew we were. Because of the quality of the bowling and that attack, we were all going to get success, really. And I think it was just a really good place to be, that you could relax and just enjoy each other's success.
Simon, I said when we said hello to you, you had absolutely no luck with injuries. Injuries, the absolute curse of elite sportsmen and sportswomen. Yeah. I guess, how would you describe those long roads of rehab?
Horrendous. The first one I did was in 2002 when I slid in the outfield at the Gabba in Australia. That was an 18 months rehab. More or less six days a week, 6 hours a day. I didn't drink for those 18 months, didn't touch a drop. It was just one of those things. I think because people had doubted me so much, I thought, no, I'm going to give this absolutely everything. I had a great surgeon up in Sheffield named Derek Bickerstaff. He sorted my knee out. And the Glamorgan physio at the time was a guy called Urjan Mustafa, brilliant physio. And he just stuck with me. I lived with him for those 18 months. And we just trained together, did everything together. The biggest thing I say to any sportsperson is you've got to keep good people around you. You've got to keep positive people around you, because those are dark days, really dark days.
I think it's very interesting that the difference, because I tore my cruciate ligaments, right, when I was at the start of my career. I just blown underneath, and I tore my cruciate in a sevens tournament. Yeah. And so different. You were saying that you had someone with you living with you 6 months, 6 days a week. Yeah. I was an amateur. I didn't have anyone.
That's crazy.
So I was on my own, and the way I would do it, I would run up to from my house to a gymnasium in another council estate in Samsara, and there was a Polish guy who just moved into the village, and they loved their weights, and I just used their gym all the time. And to a degree, my father took the banisters off the landing. I had to hang my leg over the landing, and it was like sugar bags to get my legs back to strength. So it's amazing now how difficult it is mentally. But when I was doing it on my own, to know that the help you're having, but again, I suppose the pressure is different then, because it's a professional sport. I was a young kid trying to make it in the game, but it is difficult, and I think that's when you get your mental toughness. It's a fact, not when you get and someone's whacking you for a 4 or a 6, or someone's running over the top of you. It's in those dark days when you're on your own. You're thinking, right, and when you actually come to Gillespie in 4, those are the good days, because you're in that spot because you've worked hard to get there. So it is, and I don't think people understand. They look at the physical aspect of rugby maybe, but as a fast bowler, when you're pounding in, and the pressure you put on your joints, on your shoulder, and your knees and ankle are extraordinary, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's 14 times your own body weight going through your front leg. Every single ball. It's a lot of weight. It's a lot of weight.
A lot of weight.
You think boys do that 120 times a day normally?
So would your advice to young cricketers be to build a scaffolding around you in terms of having professional help on tap, that if a bad situation happens, you've got to be protected. You've got to be able to pick the phone up to be able to get the very best help, because otherwise it would seem to me to be an investment that's absolutely crucial to protect your career.
Oh, hugely. And I think guys who are playing these days, women and men who are in sport, there's that network around them. It's readily available. Like with cricket, they've got the Professional Cricket Association. They're an association that they can use for addictions, or if they need solicitors' help or anything like that. So it's there. I think when obviously Jiffy was talking about when he did his cruciates and he was just on his own, I find that unbelievable. that's a heck of an effort to come back from that, because cruciate is a horrible injury.
Yeah.
But yeah, any advice to youngsters coming through, you've got to keep good people around you. That's the biggest thing. If you're successful in sport, you're going to get hangers on, and you've got to assess if they're your fair weather friends who will be there for you when it's hard, or if when things are good, or if they're your good mates and they're going to be there no matter what. And I think that's the biggest thing that young sports people have to do when they're coming through, is eke those people out and just get rid.
Yeah, it's always good to have good people. I was lucky, I had good people around me and I kind of learned the ways of the world, on the field and off the field as well.
Yeah.
And I just think it's very important. Even when I went into the broadcasting, I had a guy called Peter Corrigan, who's a journalist for the Observer, and I'd bring him up every time, and he would be bluntly honest. So you had to be tough to take the criticism as well, but the criticism was honest and fair from a person who was one of your best friends. So it's because you can't with social media and everything these days, you've got to be tough skin to cope with a lot of the criticism that's going to happen anyway.
Yeah, totally.
You went to visit the surgeon of the stars, didn't you? Go to Colorado, and Dr. Stedman you. But you're in great company there. He was looking after the real elite stars of sport, wasn't he?
I went over there because with my left knee, which I injured in 2006 in India, I tore the cartilage off the bone. There was like a 2 centimetre hole, circle. And he'd invented what was called a microfracture. So they drill the bone to make it bleed because the cartilage is not there. And then it fills in like a scab. So when you scuff your elbow, you get a scab. That does the same thing with the cartilage. So he tries to replace the cartilage. And he'd invented this microfracture. And look, I'm going out to Colorado. I don't know what to expect. And I've gone in to see this guy, big guy. I'm 6'3.5", something like that. He was a bit bigger than me. And he had a cowboy hat on. And I thought, that's not a good sign. The one thing I noticed, though, around his room, right, which is a big office, from floor to ceiling, there was just signed pictures of athletes he brought back, whether it be American football, baseball, rugby, football, whatever it was. But there were 4 or 5 deep. He just didn't have enough room for them. And I thought, well, yeah, that'll do me. And then he's done the operation, and I've slowly come back. The thing about the microfractures is it takes a year and a half, 2 years to harden up before you can do anything. So the rehab is horrendous because you're taking 1 step forward, 1 step back, 1 step forward, 1 step back all the time. Because if you get any swelling, you've got to stop. Because then that shows there's something wrong. And he was, that was probably the toughest rehab I ever did. I played on for another 7 years. 7 years. And it consumed me in the end. It was horrible. When I was at Hampshire, it was just a vessel. I was just waking up every morning thinking, right, I've got to check for swelling. Woke up on, Christmas Day thinking, will the gym be open? I don't need to go to the gym. Boxing Day, I was driving to the gym to see if it was open. It consumed me, Jeff, and it was horrendous.
I would imagine ice packs. You're very familiar with ice packs then down the years.
I had one of those game readies. Have you seen those machines? So you wrap it around your leg and it pumps ice in. It squeezes and relaxes. And I bought it myself because I thought, right, I'm going to be using it. And I used it every day for 7 years. The poor thing. Seriously, every day. And then, I got rid of it in the end. So once I retired, I thought, right, I've got to get rid of everything. I just don't want to remember any of this rehab or any of that malarkey. I don't have to go near a gym, really. This is, when the weight has been lifted off your shoulders, it's quite nice. It's quite nice.
You're talking about retirement. How did you find the transition from kind of being a full-time professional, going into, a new life, really?
It was, I reckon, one of the hardest things I've ever done.
Yeah.
There's guys they've gone from cricket straight into broadcasting and that, and they've managed to get that opportunity, and they're doing very well for themselves. Now, probably 70-80% of the others don't get that opportunity. You've got to go back into the real world. And it took me 3 or 4, maybe 5 years I went from pillar to post, really. I went from different jobs, doing ambassador work, etc. And then I met a guy last year, Dean Calaz, who's my regional managing director at Kerry London now. And do you know when you click with someone and you think, yeah, I like this guy? and we got on like a house on fire. And then we kept in touch. And then I spoke to him because career obviously into sports and leisure as well, as long as healthcare, manufacturing, construction. But they brought me in to go with the sports side, and they wanted to try and. The thing for me is I'm very passionate about injuries, right? And there's a lot of sports professionals out there that aren't covering themselves with career-ending stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm heading up that part at the moment. So I met with Dean in this October last year, and he said, look, we might have an opportunity for you. He said, let's discuss things. Then I started in December, and yes, playing cricket for 20 years is amazing. And I went through a bit of a bad patch for about 3 or 4 years with trying to find a job. But I've loved it. Every single minute of it. Brilliant.
I think with that, it's kind of finding something that you like, obviously, finding a focus. But I think the main thing is filling your time. Because your time is, kind of organized, then it's just a question of, right, that's gone. You got to fill your time, because if you don't fill it, eventually you're gonna something bad's gonna happen, or you're gonna go down the wrong route or something. So it's very important that happens. You mentioned the broadcasting.
Yeah.
How, cricket is one of those sports that basically has led the way in technology and simplifying the game to the I suppose the general sporting fan, isn't it?
Yeah, they've done a great job. I think obviously it was on normal TV, terrestrial TV, and then Sky took over.
Yeah.
And if you're looking at Sky's kind of coverage now, it's up there with anything that's out there. The way they're doing the technology they've got now to see if there's a wicket, and all that's coming through. Like Hawkeye used to be there, but now it's changed slightly. It's incredible how the game has changed. Now, I think as a fan and as a person watching, it must be the best thing ever. Because to be fair, I think in days gone past, I think some of the pundits kind of spoke with terminology that people wouldn't understand.
Yeah.
But now, as you rightly said, the pundits just simplify stuff so everyone can understand what's going on. And it's great. It's amazing.
Simon, it's very interesting what you were saying before about when, and Jiffy, you mentioned it too, about sort of when you retire from elite sport. I guess for all of us, chapter change can be difficult. Chapter can be very, very difficult. And I think sometimes you've got to be very open with yourself and understand that is going to be a difficult road to go down.
Oh, look, at the end of the day, if you're in professional sport, that's the first half of your life. The way I look at it. Now, people retire when they're 65.
Yeah.
You've got another 30 odd years to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's why the other advice I give to any youngsters coming through is plan ahead. Do some training in other stuff. Become doing an electrician's course, plumbers, whatever it is, to get something behind you. So if the worst does happen, you've got your cover anyway, but also you've got a job to go to.
But also the important thing as well is, right, being a professional sportsman, right, is a very privileged existence.
Yeah.
And the highs that you get and also the lows that you get, I don't think it's ever matched after your career, because how many jobs do you do in front of thousands of people and millions on television? So you've got that buzz, and you're doing it in the public eye. So there has to be a realization that stops. I've done television, right? But I enjoy it, but you never ever get the same buzz as you do when you participate in, right? So that's the thing that you've got to understand. Also, very rarely will you get the same revenue that you have when you were playing, because you were a talent that people pay to watch you play. So I think that's the realization that it is over, and maybe because we had injuries, I overcome that better. But it's a tough job, and I understand that with it, especially now. Well, I was an amateur really, so but then later went professional. But for all the sportsmen out there, as Simon said, it's the prep that's vitally important, because it will come to an end one day. Hopefully you call time on it and not the other way around, because that's even tougher. But you got to enjoy it, and then you're right, move on.
Simon, how important was being awarded Wisden Cricketer of the Year? Because just the name Wisden sort of is massive authority.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's very special.
It was a little bit of a shock, really. When I found out I was one of the top 5, I was like, yeah, this is amazing. But do you know what topped it off for me was that my dad came up with me, and he was at the dinner with me. You know, he was there on my debut, and then obviously I achieved what I did in 05, and then I got given that accolade. It was a special night, really special night. So having, because he presented me with it as well, which is quite a nice, which is quite a nice, quite a nice
really
touch.
Nice.
But yeah, it was.
That's really nice.
Yeah, it was special. Special day.
Who's in the top 5 with you?
I can't remember.
No way. Oh, I
can't remember. I'd have to have a think. That's one of the things I'm not great at, Jeff and Ray, is stuff like that. I'm just, I just focus on what I'm doing. I'm fairly laid back, and it's just my nature, really.
I got to ask one. You were, the fast ball, and maybe you didn't enjoy the batting. Did you face? What was it like facing someone like Shane Vaughan?
It was tough. He's an absolute legendary hero of the game, isn't he? The big thing about 2005, because the Aussies are renowned for sledging, aren't they? There wasn't any. It was unbelievable. Because everyone was so focused on the job in hand, because the series was so tight, because everyone was so thinking, God, which way is this game going to go? The only thing I did notice with Shane Vaughan was I was stood at the non-strikers end, and he was bowling to whoever it was with me. Maybe it was Fred, I think. And he zipped Fred on the pads, and he's gone out, right? Just bolshy and gone out. And Billy Bowden was umpire, right? Strange human being. And what I noticed, and I thought, this is what he does. He's a clever man. He asked Billy why that wasn't out. Billy give me an excuse. He's saying, Billy, that's the worst decision I've ever seen in my entire life, right? So he's just bantering him in his ear constantly, right? So when it's fairly close, fingers straight up.
Oh yeah, I know.
Just a really shrewd guy.
That is brilliant. Because we'd say like half time. I talked to the referee while I'm kicking off half time. I'd say, they've had 6 more penalties than us. That's all I say.
Yeah.
He'd be like, I don't know, I better even it up, and only one-sided or something. That's all sports psychology is brilliant. I love it.
See the doubt, isn't it?
Yes, it's brilliant. It's brilliant.
I was just in awe of it, really. I just couldn't believe he was. And I was just thinking, right, if I'd said that to Billy now, I'd probably get a ban. I'd get half my match fee gone or something like that, You just buys you that pleasure, doesn't it?
Oh, it's brilliant.
That must be a perfect chapter, Simon. Sort of Hoggard, Harmison, you and Fred. That must have been just a terrific little chapter. You were saying before how the 4 of you, everyone in the other's camp. But that must have been a very special group to be in.
Yeah, it was. Do you know what? That squad we had was the best experience of my cricketing career. It was the most relaxed I've ever felt in a dressing room. Some people would disagree with that when they played for England because they played in different sides. That side, when I walked into that dressing room, I felt at home. There was no egos at the time. There was no issues with anyone else. There was no backbiting. There was no bitching. It was just a good place to be. And, with that quartet, they call us the Fab Four, didn't they? Because we just beaten everyone, really, and taken wickets, but then at different times. But the biggest thing about that foursome was we complemented each other. We were 4 different types of bowlers. So I think that's why we were so potent, so dangerous to the opposition, really.
Time is against us, but I'm just keen to hear your view, bowler to bowler, the bowlers from down the years that you looked at when you were making your way in the game. But from yesterday and today, who are the bowlers that spring to your mind?
My hero, Alan Donald, White Lightning, played for South Africa, played at Warwickshire. I just wanted to be him. I used to put the zinc on my face, on my lips, it was to cover myself. I think the game is changing slightly. I think lads these days are going to protect themselves slightly more. They're going to look at playing the shorter format rather than the longer format. And rightly so. It's only a short career. If they can go to millions in India or Australia, wherever it is, let them go. It's their choice. At the end of the day, it's their career. But yeah, the game hasn't, the game has changed, I think, in terms of T20 and the way that people bat. But when you're bowling, the game is still the same. You try and run in the bowl as quickly as you can. The aggression is still there. The passion is still there. And the game is an amazing game.
Where does it stand when you charge in and the stumps go everywhere? Can you describe the emotion you experience?
The one thing a bowler, a fast bowler anyway, wants to see is either the stumps flying out the ground or a batsman in pain. Obviously, not hurt too badly, I mean, but, if they get one in the ribs or on the toe or wherever, it's just one of those things. I think when I've worked with people in the past, even at a professional level, or if I've had youngsters coming through when I've been at Morgan or wherever it is, you can't teach someone to be aggressive on the field. You can't. Chris Tranett, right? Monster of a human being. He was 6'8", 6'9", right? Played at Hampshire. Bowled quickly. The gentlest human being you've ever met. Ever. And I was thinking, come on, Tremors, get after him. And it just didn't suit him. That wasn't his way. He tried to do the talking with the ball. Whereas me, I'd be in your face. You'd have someone like Freddie would do it. And Brett Lee was probably one of the most aggressive I played against. I faced him at Lord's. I was batting with Kevin Pietersen, and Kev was facing. And I thought, this doesn't look too bad, this. Kev has gone, they played it. And I've gone down the other end. Oh, my God. I nearly dropped my shot in. I didn't see it. And I was thinking, how the hell has Kevin Pietersen done that? He's just played it as if he was in slow motion. I'm thinking, don't die. And Kev is just thinking, where am I going to hit this? It's just a difference.
Yeah.
That's how the world-class batters play.
Yeah. It's incredible.
Time is against us. If you hadn't been a cricketer, what would you have been? Jiffy, if you hadn't been a rugby player, what would life have turned out for you?
Let me tell you first of all, right? I had the same amount of stitches playing cricket as I did playing rugby. I had 3 stitches under my chin, right, playing cricket, and I only had 3 stitches in my whole rugby career. Was after I finished playing in the school he coached, right, in Cathedral. Simon Easterby, the Llanelli player, he's Yorkshire, Yorkshire. So he'd come in, he's charging in. I thought, who's this? What's he doing now? So he went forward defensive first ball. I thought that was quick, and then second ball he was a bit short, so I went hook it. Got under it, top chin, blood everywhere. I said, I'm fine. You got to go off. 3 stitches. That's the end of my cricketing career.
So, if you hadn't been a cricketer, Simon?
Footballer. I'd love to have been a footballer. That was my first love. I just wasn't good enough. So if I could have been anything, I'd have been a footballer.
Who'd you follow?
Followed Cardiff City.
Yeah.
I'm a Llanelli boy.
Hang on. I think you're born in Morriston. Are you Morriston?
No, I was born in Morriston, but I brought up in Llanelli. So you got a Jack Turk rivalry with me.
I'm the same. Like I can't. Oh, I don't know. Living in Swansea and being a Turk, it's like very hard.
So, if you hadn't been a rugby player, what would you have done?
I don't know. I'd have gone into some kind of line of work, been a salesman somewhere or something like that. But as a sportsman, like as Simon said, I did. I had the opportunity to go to Lord's on a coaching on a kids cricketing week, but 3 of us were picked, but only 2 places, so I missed out on that one. So I just enjoyed the football. I played a lot of football. So, but as Simon said, once you realise, you got a gift in one, and you enjoy that sport, and you got to put
okay, guys,
efforts into it. So, I enjoyed all sports.
We spoke a little bit about the social side of sport, which is very, very important. I don't know if you remember, Jiffy. First pint, where and how much?
Oh, I think first pint I had was a pint of mild, and that was horrendous. But only because I could keep up with the rest of the boys, and I think it was about 24 pence.
24. 24. Whereabouts?
Oh, it's from Sarum Rugby Club.
Yeah.
That's where I learned my drinking. From Sarum Rugby Club.
Simon, first pint where and when?
First pint, I reckon, would have been at Davin. And I reckon when I was about, I can't say that, 16, 17. And it was about £1.50, I think.
Well, you see, it just shows, because I'm so much older than you two. Pint and mild, D Hotel in Heswell, 11p.
What?
Thing is, I'm that old, but then, and if you drank lager, you were really posh. Lager was about 16, 17p.
You go out with 2 penny and get hammered.
I know. Yeah, but my first wage was only £29 a week, man. So that kind of,
Yeah, that kind of
equals it out.
My first Morgan contract was when I was 15, 16, was £5,000. 5k, and I thought I was the wealthiest boy in Llanelli.
We bought my mum's house for £5,000 in Drumsaren. That's the thing. That's the look at that.
Yeah, my mum and dad was about that as well. Yeah.
I tell you what, I am clearly so much older than you lot. You reminded me when I signed for Tranmere Rovers, £8 a week and £1.50 travelling expenses.
Wow.
God, I know, mad days there.
Crazy, I think it changed.
Time has beaten us. Grateful thanks to Kerry London for sponsoring this new series of Jiffy and Stubbsy. Simon, thank you for joining us today. Really enjoyed talking to you, and hope you'll talk to us again down the line, because it's been absolutely terrific to talk to you today. Take care, everybody.
Cheers, Simon.
Still difficult times for everybody. Details of the next Jiffy and Stubbsy podcast will be online. And take care, everyone. Bye-bye. And thanks for listening to Jiffy and Stubbsy. Hope you'll join us again. Please hit the subscribe button.